here on one of the warmest days of the year. So I think so far for us in this area where we have a fair amount of groundwater, it's not that big of a deal. We might turn the sprinklers on later in the day, or probably more tomorrow, which will be continuation of a hot weather streak. Just to cool the environment for a little bit, but it's not so bad right now. We're going to put some slip and slides actually in between the rows, and make it fun for the visits. I think if Washington Street has become the Rodeo Drive of Napa, we're kind of like that extension where the houses are of Rodeo Drive, and not where all the fancy boutiques are. But we're not that far from there if we want to go. So it's kind of cool because we have people that ride their bikes here from town to come do some wine tastings and things like that. Yeah. So it's a great place to be. Well, it's kind of a reflection of what we do with the wines, and we're looking for a timelessness in the architecture, which again is a reflection of the wines. We want them to be not from a specific style or point in time where those types of wines were popular, but we want it to be something that stands out over the course of time. And so when we had the opportunity to build this place and design and really have something that could be ours, we looked to the past to see what we wanted to do. And so both Bear and I, Bear is the owner and co-founder of the winery along with me, we both love history, and we were looking for something that reflects upon the history of this Yountville AVA. So we have a clear view of the Veterans Home, which is fantastic architecture. If you go into the Yountville town, there's a lot of old buildings from the 1800s that are brick and stone, and a lot of the bridges that are from the era in Napa in general are stone bridges, and we wanted to reflect that in our architecture here. And the way that Bear puts it, which I think is pretty clever, he says, if George C. Yount walked through here, he would feel comfortable in the place. He would recognize it. One of the funny stories that I have is that there are people that drive up and down Highway 29 on a daily basis to go to work, further north from where we are. And we've had people come visit here, and they say, in all the years that I've been driving up 29, I've never noticed that building.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. We wanted the room to be very inviting and to feel very home-like. The people that come in here, they feel like they could be in their own house and maybe in the library portion of their home, regardless of the size. And we just really also wanted to bring the outside in. So if you look at the colors, the color scheme that's used here inside, it's really reflecting what's going on outside. The color of the chairs, this a walnut table that's one piece, one slab that's from a tree that's like 300 years old. And just having the ability that we can really bring the outside in by opening our doors and taking advantage of these views and just the overall climate that we have here. All of the tastings that we do are private tastings, and even if we have a couple of groups at the same time, there are several areas around the winery, around the property that we can take them to continue to have that private feel. Nice. And at this time of the year, if it's not so hot outside, we'll use the outside mainly for the visits. And once it gets to a certain time of the day, if it's too unbearable outside, we'll come inside. We make a lot of different wines, actually. So you had just a little splattering of what we actually do. So we actually make 14 different wines, and most of them are single vineyard, single varietal, and basically runs the gamut from Syrah. We do pretty much every Bordeaux varietal except for Malbec, Sauvignon Blanc included, no Semillon. We have Sauvignon Gris though, that's new. It's not a very widely planted variety, and if I remember my history correctly, when I read up on Sauvignon Gris, basically a lot of the growers didn't want to grow it, and it originates in France, in Bordeaux, I think specifically, and it's grown in the Loire as well. And people didn't want to use it because it doesn't yield a lot. The clusters are pretty small compared to Sauvignon Blanc, and they just don't get enough bang for their buck, I guess, from a production perspective. However, the wine, even if it's related to Sauvignon Blanc, it's much different in characteristics. And I think, if we're trying to be innovative and do something new in an area that's kind of traditional, and we think we figured out what varietals work here, this is something to put into the pot that I think is going to be pretty great for the future. And it's something based on the first two vintages that we produce of this wine that's really exceptional with its own flavor profile and aromas that are just off the charts. Hard to describe what it is, hard for people to guess what it is because it doesn't really come across as a Bordeaux white varietal because it's more on the spicy side. So I'm really excited about the future of this wine. But I go back to the point that I made earlier about the wines and how they taste when they're released. I think when people taste it, And we did a trial run in 2020. The only wine that we bottled, 10 cases worth of, it's a blend, but it's primarily Sauvignon Gris that I've opened up, for certain people, technical people, to see what they think. And people are just like, when can I buy this? I need this today. We're like, no, we're not selling this. This doesn't even have a label on it. It's Shiners. It's a test. But in a couple of years, we'll be able to get some with a label and really enjoy it. We're going to bottle the first round of that, and the other one I think that you thought of that we talked on the phone about was the Franc Blanc,
right?
Which was my word that day. Both of those are going to get bottled at the same time in July. So we do a Syrah, 100% Syrah. We do the Pinot you had, a Chardonnay. We do a couple Chardonnays, actually, a couple Pinots. We do Cabernet Franc, which is one of my favorite varietals, and that kind of led me to plant a couple different clones of Cabernet Franc here on our property. We do 3 different Cabernet Sauvignons. We do a red blend that's primarily, based on Syrah and Petit Verdot, different Syrah than what we bottle as Syrah. And then the third varietal varies every year. So it's another Bordeaux varietal. Typically start off being Cabernet Franc, then it went to Cabernet Sauvignon, now it's Merlot. Yeah, I think around here, there's just not a lot of other than Bordeaux varietals or even, Pinot. There's plenty of Chardonnay, but not that much Pinot. I think maybe some other southern French varietals like Carignan or Grenache would be really interesting to do.
Well, Carignan used to be huge around here a long
time ago. Yeah. And you can still find some vineyards that have 100-year-old Carignan, not in Napa, but in other parts of California. And I think that would be something extremely fun to tackle. It's a completely different varietal, and the acidity profile of the wines is much different than we have in the Bordeaux or the Burgundian varietals.
And it's a good wine.
And it's a great wine.
Yeah.
I think just by being honest and by being open and share, being approachable and not being like some kind of demigod that makes wine, right? And this is the only way it is. And it's approaching them saying, look, I'd like you to try this wine. I'd like you to try something different. Yeah, it doesn't matter that you don't have a lot of experience with wine. What you like at the end of the day is really what matters. And maybe you like this. It's something unusual, something you probably haven't heard of because you're just starting out. Just give it a shot. Taste it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to hate it. Just appreciate it and enjoy it. And that's kind of what we try to do here at the winery. And I think that's one of the things that's been successful for us when people visit. They're just kind of shocked by the level of graciousness, I guess I would say, by the level of visit that they have, where we're really wanting to share what we do and really open to the questions that they have and being transparent on how we make the wines and how we grow the grapes and all that stuff. And I think that's really the turn on, even for people that don't know that much about wine. It makes them feel more comfortable. Our website is miranapa.com. And if they want a phone, the phone number's on the website. Who goes to the phone anymore?
Not young people.
Right.